among the judges for discussion during a scheduled conference on April 4, 2025. He is seeking a stay on his extradition while litigation over his habeas corpus petition continues. This comes days after the U.S. Supreme Court Judge Elena Kagan rejected his review petition. In his application, Rana had argued that he would not survive long enough to be tried in India due to various health-related reasons. According to the Department of Homeland Security, a Georgetown University researcher, Indian national Badar Khan Suri, has been detained by U.S. immigration authorities on allegations of spreading Hamas propaganda. His lawyer has denied the claims and has filed a lawsuit for his release. Suri was taken into custody outside his Virginia home and is currently being held in Louisiana. Georgetown University has said that Suri was legally in the U.S. on a visa and had not engaged in any known illegal activity. His detention follows the arrest of another pro-Palestinian activist last week, raising concerns over academic freedom and free speech. Ukrainian President Zelensky has agreed to a partial ceasefire with Russia, focused on energy and other civilian infrastructure. Zelensky, who spoke after an hour-long phone call with President Donald Trump, said that it was a first step in what the Ukrainian leader said he hoped would be lasting peace more than 3 years after his country was invaded by Moscow. According to reports, Israel's renewed assault on Gaza continues for a third day. At least 58 people were killed in pre-dawn attacks, including at least 20, as a result of shelling in Khan Yunis in the south. The Israeli military has also launched targeted ground activities in Gaza, partially recapturing a key area in the territory, a day after launching an aerial bombardment of the Strip that shattered the 2-month-old ceasefire with Hamas. On the latest strikes against Hamas, Israeli ambassador to India Reuben Azar says diplomacy has failed, further adding that's why they have renewed their military pressure to create a situation in which Hamas changes mind or face defeat. Here is what he told NDTV.
It's a tough time that we are seeing, but one of the first things I want to ask you is that both parties are accusing the other of breaking the ceasefire, which is why you've seen those attacks that have taken place. What's the rationale for Israel to attack at a time which is also the holy month of Ramzan, where the attacks have taken place in the last 36 hours?
Well, Gauri, as you probably remember, we agreed to a 42-day temporary ceasefire in order to negotiate the resolution of this conflict, which means bringing back our hostages and make sure that Hamas cannot rearm and regroup and continue controlling the Gaza Strip. Unfortunately, Hamas has rejected the proposals of the American mediator time and again and has stopped releasing hostages. We had to go back to military pressure. This is something that is also backed by the United States, because if we cannot achieve this achievement diplomatically, we have to do it militarily.
Okay. So, but again, the accusation has been that there was no rejection by Hamas, because these attacks have been condemned by countries the world over. And what's the rationale for continuing it? And more importantly, how long are you going to continue these attacks?
Well, first of all, it is a fact that they rejected the American proposals because the American administration has stated that. So we are fully coordinated with our American friends, and condemnations cannot replace the fact that we have a terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip that is not only holding hostages from Israel, they are holding hostage the entire Palestinian population. They are taking the humanitarian aid that the world is sending, selling it to the population, blending into the population, and trying to extort a surrender from Israel. This is not going to happen. It's ridiculous. So what we expect from the international community is to put pressure on Hamas and create peace in our region through a diplomatic process that will take the top brass of Hamas out of Gaza, will give hope to the Palestinian people with a new moderate leadership that can actually allow real assistance from the world in reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, in a better future for Palestinian people. This is what is the common interest. So whoever says that we shouldn't use military power basically says that we have to surrender to a terrorist organization that will continue, having a grip on Gaza forever. This cannot be acceptable.
US President Donald Trump has hinted that India may soon reduce tariffs on American goods. Speaking to Breitbart News, Trump said he believes New Delhi will lower trade barriers, but warned that if it does not, the US will impose reciprocal tariffs starting April 2nd. India has not officially responded to Trump's remarks, but trade relations between the two countries have been a point of contention, particularly over tariffs on agricultural and industrial products. Donald Trump is set to sign an executive order to shut down the Department of Education, fulfilling a key campaign promise. The move faces legal challenges, with the Democratic attorneys general filing lawsuits to block it. The order also eliminates diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in federally funded education. While Trump's executive action signals his intent, he will need congressional approval to dismantle the department entirely, an uphill battle with Senate Democrats opposing the plan. A U.S. judge has warned the Trump administration of possible consequences if it violated an order blocking the deportation of hundreds of Venezuelan migrants. Judge James Boasberg has extended the deadline for the government to provide details on the deportations, but expressed skepticism over national security concerns cited by the administration. Trump has called for Boasberg's impeachment, escalating tensions with the judiciary. The dispute revolves around whether the deportations violated a temporary block issued by the court. Listen in to what Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, had to say on mass deportation.
Americans can absolutely expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign that has been successfully led by this president, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the President of the United States. They are trying to clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the President said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts.
According to reports, US President Donald Trump has sent a letter to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, setting a 2-month deadline to negotiate a new nuclear deal or face consequences. It isn't clear whether the 2-month clock begins from the time the letter was delivered on from when negotiations start, but if Iran rejects Trump's outreach and doesn't negotiate, the chances of US or Israeli military action against Iran's nuclear facilities would dramatically increase. The letter, delivered via an Emirati diplomat, rules out open-ended talks and warns Tehran against advancing its nuclear program. Trump confirmed the letter in an interview, saying he prefers diplomacy but will act militarily if necessary. Khamenei has dismissed the proposal as a US deception, while Iran's foreign ministry says it is reviewing the letter. Joshua Ribe, a 22-year-old Iowa man, once named a person of interest in the disappearance of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha in the Dominican Republic, is finally heading home. Ribe had been detained on the Caribbean island for nearly 2 weeks before receiving a new passport from the U.S. consulate. His lawyers confirmed that he is traveling back to the U.S. with his father. Authorities in the Dominican Republic have not clarified whether Ribe remains under investigation, but he is now free to leave the country. Well, the student's disappearance remains unresolved. Take a look at this report by my colleague Ridhima Kedia.
Police have identified a person of interest in the case of Sudiksha Konanki's disappearance.
The man has been questioned over disappearance of a college student during spring break in Dominican Republic.
But nobody knows where the body is, and that's the big question.
A judge has ordered the release of Joshua Ribe, the last known person to see 20-year-old Sudiksha Konanki alive. But while he walks free, her parents are left with nothing. No answers, no closure, not even a body to mourn. Konanki vanished nearly 2 weeks ago while on a spring break trip to the Dominican Republic. Ribi told investigators they were drinking in the ocean and caught in a current. Ribi claims that after struggling to get back to shore, he vomited seawater, fell asleep on a beach chair, and never saw Sudiksha again. Authorities say there is no evidence of foul play and Ribi has not been named a suspect. But for Sudiksha's parents, that does not bring closure. After days of searching, they have now asked officials to declare their daughter legally dead. A young woman disappeared without a trace. The only person of interest is free to go, and a family is forced to accept the worst without ever knowing what really happened to their daughter. With Ridhima Kedia, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
The Vatican has confirmed that Pope Francis is showing signs of recovery and no longer requires mechanical ventilation at night. The 88-year-old pontiff has been hospitalized since mid-Feb with pneumonia but continues to receive oxygen support. Doctors have said that his condition is improving, though no timeline for his discharge has been given. The Pope, who has faced respiratory issues since his youth, remains under medical supervision and is receiving therapy to aid his mobility. Wildfires fueled by strong winds are spreading across Texas, with the Texas A&M Forest Service responding to 14 new fires burning over 18,000 acres. San Jacinto County is among the hardest hit, with fire crews battling blazes, threatening homes and infra. In Borger, Texas, fast-moving fire forced evacuations and cut power to hundreds of residents. The wildfire threat extends beyond Texas, with Arkansas and Oklahoma also seeing dangerous conditions. Officials warn that high winds could worsen the situation, urging residents to remain prepared for further evacuations. Large brush fire near the Florida Keys caused major traffic disruptions, forcing officials to briefly shut down US 1, the main road in and out of the island chain. While US 1 has since reopened, Card Sound Road remains closed as fire crews battle the flames. Officials warn of significant delays along an 18-mile stretch as emergency teams intermittently stop traffic for firefighting efforts. The blaze that started Tuesday afternoon has created heavy smoke in the area. Authorities continue to monitor the situation as dry conditions fuel the risk of further fires. All right, with that, it's time for a quick break here. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned.
If you won't do it for you, do it for your grandchild, who's mad you didn't hear her joke.
Book a free hearing test at bootshearingcare.com.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money,
Am I going to lose my job?
getting on with life,
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
or just need someone to listen,
How do I tell them?
our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
Rebel in the comfortable home. IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
I gotta be me.
What in here?
What else can
Sauce
I
up your
be?
sandwich with Walker's Heinz ketchup flavour crisps.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma. But so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pamelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today by calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers. You can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926. Text C13 to 82727 or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
We know travel can be confusing, so let us inspire you. Welcome to Qatar. Experience it all. World-class hospitality, diverse landscapes from city to sea, and fly there with the Airline of the Year 2022, Qatar Airways. Book now at travelup.com or call 0207 580 5000. Travel Up, flights, hotels, holidays.
Welcome back after the break. Vehicle thefts in the US has seen their steepest annual decline in 40 years thanks to enhanced security measures from automakers, especially Hyundai and Kia. The two brands previously topped theft lists in 2021 and 2023 due to missing immobilizers, fueling viral social media trends like the Kia Boys. According to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, new anti-theft updates have led to a 37.5% drop in thefts of Kia and Hyundai models. Experts say easing supply chain issues have also made stealing cars for parts less profitable. According to a Financial Times report, NVIDIA is set to invest billions in US chip production over the next 4 years. CEO Jensen Huang revealed that the company could manufacture several $100 billion worth of electronics domestically. The move aligns with US efforts to strengthen semiconductor manufacturing amid growing competition from Chinese firms like Huawei. NVIDIA's expansion could benefit from Trump administration policy supporting AI and chip development. Nike is bracing for its steepest revenue decline in nearly 5 years as weaker consumer demand and sluggish sales hit the sportswear giant. Mobile app downloads dropped by 35% in the last quarter, while foot traffic at Nike stores fell by 11%. Retailer Foot Locker, that relies heavily on Nike products, has also warned of profit margin pressures due to heavy discounting. Since September, Nike shares have fallen 19%, while rival Adidas has seen a slight stock uptick. The European Union has hit Google and Apple with new regulatory charges for allegedly violating the Digital Markets Act. The European Commission accuses Google of restricting developers from promoting external offers outside its Play Store and favoring its own services like Google Flights. Apple has been ordered to open its ecosystem to competitors. The crackdown could lead to hefty fines, with Google facing penalties of up to 10% of its annual revenue. The move comes despite Trump's threats to impose tariffs on EU nations. Amazon has lost its appeal against a record $812 million fine imposed by Luxembourg's privacy regulator for violating EU data protection laws. The fine, issued 4 years ago, stemmed from Amazon's alleged misuse of customer data under the General Data Protection Regulation. The court ruled in favor of the regulator, rejecting Amazon's argument that the penalty was based on subjective interpretations of the law. Amazon is now considering a further appeal. Australian tennis star Nick Kyrgios came from behind to defeat Mackenzie McDonald 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 in the first round of the Miami Open on Wednesday to earn his first win since October 2022. Kyrgios, who retired from his first round match at Indian Wells this month due to pain in his surgically repaired right wrist, soaked in the moment, looking skyward and taking a deep breath after sealing the win. World number 3 Alcaraz distanced himself from the class action lawsuit filed by the Professional Tennis Players Association against the governing bodies of the sport, saying it had caught him by surprise. The PTPA, an advocacy group established by Novak Djokovic and Vasek Pospisil, filed the lawsuit on Tuesday accusing the ATP, WTA, International Tennis Federation and International Tennis Integrity Agency of anti-competitive practices. The upcoming Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai promises excitement as the second race of the gripping 2025 Formula One season. Scheduled for Sunday on March 23rd, the race holds significant anticipation for fans and competitors alike, particularly due to the return of the Grand Prix after 6 years. Practice sessions kick off the weekend events with Practice 1 taking place on Friday, followed by sprint qualifying and Practice 2 all on the same day. Now to football, where India defeated Maldives in an international FIFA friendly held in Meghalaya, Shillong. Shillong made its debut as an international football venue. It will also host the all-important AFC Asian Cup 2027 qualifier against Bangladesh on March 25th. But the biggest moment was India's all-time top scorer Sunil Chhetri's first match since announcing his return to international football. Take a look at this report.
Excitement was writ large across Meghalaya's capital, Shillong.
India! 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 India!
All path led to the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, where India took on Maldives in a FIFA international friendly, Shillong making the debut as India's newest international football venue.
इंडिया को चीयर अप करने के लिए हम लोग आया हुआ है और स्पेशली सुनील छेत्री सर के लिए, क्योंकि छेत्री सर ऑलरेडी एक इंटरनेशनल में संन्यास ले चुका था, फिर दोबारा इंडियन टीम के लिए वापसी आया, तो उस चीज़ को एक जोश और जेन्युइन को एक ब्लू जर्सी में हम लोग एक वो था, एक देखने का एक जोश था, तो उसके लिए आया है विटनेस करने के लिए।
हम लोग तो इंडिया का सपोर्टर है, तो हम लोग चाहता था मतलब इंडिया इसको मतलब जीत होना चाहिए, विन होना चाहिए।
The spotlight was firmly on the Blue Tigers, with legendary striker Sunil Chhetri making his much-anticipated return to international football out of his international football retirement. The match serves as a crucial test for both teams as they prepare for their AFC Asian Cup 2027 qualifiers, with India gearing up to face Bangladesh at Shillong again on 25th of March.
Captains Sunil Chhetri yet again.
While the stadium was full, India found an international football match victory after 489 days, with defender Rahul Bheke opening up the score with a header in the 35th minute.
Who said Shillong shaking with joy?
Followed by a goal in the second half for India by forward Liston Colasso, scoring in the 66th minute, making it 2-0 for India.
And the Blue Tigers roar in Shillong. One more time, one more cross towards Sunil Chhetri.
And later in the 76th minute, Sunil Chhetri found the back of the net, making it 3-0 for India, his 95th international goal.
Present, ever scoring.
Great numbers, and we know because the good thing is that he didn't have too many chances, but it's true that the cross of Liston was very, very good. It's the typical ball that you only touch the ball.
Now all eyes will be on the India-Bangladesh AFC Cup qualifier match, where Bangladesh is going to field against India in the Southeast Asia's most expensive footballer, Hamza Chaudhry, who has played in the English Premier League and has even represented England in under-21. With Nakul Rabha in Shillong and Ratndeep Chaudhry, Bureau Report, NDTV.
There's some breaking news now coming in. We are learning former Formula One team boss and TV pundit Eddie Jordan has passed away at the age of 76. Blake Shelton hosted a star-studded 3-hour show to celebrate 100 years of the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. The Opry 100 Live Celebration special was jam-packed with performances by country royalty including Reba McEntire, Trisha Yearwood, Kelsey Ballerini Amy Grant and Alan Jackson. Carrie Underwood performed an emotional tribute to living legend Randy Travis, leaving not a dry eye in the audience. The Grand Ole Opry was developed in 1925 by George T. Hay, bringing country music performances to the stage multiple nights per week. The queer comedy The Wedding Banquet had its European premiere at the BFI Flair London LGBTQIA+ festival. The film explores themes of love, friendship and lengths people go to for those they care about. At the premiere, Yang and Gladstone reflected on their own personal experiences of going the extra mile for friends.
Our 20-year high school reunion, my bestie sophomore year, I kidnapped her on her birthday morning. I called her mom the night ahead, had her mom pack an overnight bag for her. You know, she came up with a whole story that she was going to some kind of thing later that day, and then I showed up and kidnapped her and took her shopping, took her to the mall, took her to dinner, sleepover at my house, and I'd completely forgotten about it until I saw her again at our high school reunion, and she reminded me, and something that she still thinks about, which was sweet. It was like, oh yeah, I guess I did kind of go all out for that.
Well, with that, it's time to wrap this edition. More on the other side. Thanks for watching.
At Direct Line, we know that for multi-property landlords, sometimes the tiniest of things can turn into way bigger problems. From niggly contract issues to keeping up with ever-changing legislation. That's why Direct Line's landlord insurance offers a 24/7 legal helpline as standard. Because a call with someone could help to make the hairiest of problems feel that little bit smoother. Search Direct Line Landlord Insurance. We're on it.
Health isn't someday in the future, it's now. It's same-day GP appointments, physio without GP referrals, cancer testing, scans and diagnosis fast. Questions for an expert at any hour about anything. Routine dental checkups every year for brighter smiles. Support that lasts for as long as it takes. Feeling your best every day starts today. Call or go online now for your quote.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Right, time for a special interview here on NDTV. My guest is a renowned astrophysicist, one of the most credible voices in the field, an author and a cosmic communicator. He has spent decades unraveling mysteries of the universe. He's the director of the Hayden Planetarium and has popularized space science through his award-winning TV show, Cosmos. You may have also seen him in a cameo on the hit American sitcom, The Big Bang Theory. Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. I'll begin by asking you, did you watch Sunita Williams return to Earth? What was going on in your mind when you saw Sunita and Butch Wilmore emerge from that capsule?
I was reminded by the fact that they put them into a wheelchair that they haven't walked in 9 months. So there's no reason to think that their muscles wouldn't be able to hold them up, because on the space station, they have many ways to exercise where they simulate a load on your body, such as what you might find on Earth. The difference is when you spend that much time being weightless, your ability to judge and orient yourself for what is up and what is down, and if you're tipping or not, is compromised, because you've never had to use these tools of the inner ear to establish what is up and what is down. And so from the astronauts I've spoken with, friends of mine and others, they make it clear it takes a few days to readjust to what it is to be back on Earth's surface.
Right, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, for a layman, for us to understand, how long do you think it will take for both the astronauts to get back to their daily lives?
Yeah, from what I've been told, again, I have not been in space or had sustained periods of weightlessness, but so all of this that I know is from others who have, some of whom have spent a very long time in space, like Scott Kelly, the astronaut who spent 340 days in space. He's in the top 10 among those who have spent consecutive days there. And typically within a week, they completely recover and readjust to being in 1G. So the one thing I found most funny about readjusting is if you hand someone a glass to drink from and they just came back from orbit, they'll just let go of the glass when they're done with it, and it just drops and breaks. So you want to make sure the first few beverages you give them is in a plastic vessel, just to make sure that nothing breaks for those first few days.
Right, and everyone is in a jubilant mood now, but it's clearly very, very difficult considering it took 9 months to bring both astronauts back to Earth. So according to you, Mr. Tyson, what are the lessons we can draw from this entire mission?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, the biggest lesson is that, well, there are two lessons. One, oh my gosh, we're living in the future. Well, how do we know? Oh, because when the first plan A, failed to return on the Boeing Starliner, you just bring in plan B. And what is plan B? It's another rocket from a whole other private company. And so consider the luxury to even have that as a choice. Never mind there was a 9-month delay. The fact that we had options is a sign that the space frontier is becoming part of our everyday understanding of where human beings can be. And so that's one takeaway. Another takeaway is maybe if this is becoming more common, that we will always have a spare rocket in the garage that you can sort of roll out. And so that it wouldn't be a 9-month delay. This would be the sort of the rescue rocket. And you can even paint it a little differently, you know, you can have fun with that. And the rescue rocket will go retrieve anybody who's in space. If someone gets sick, for example, or, I mean, you can come up with many reasons why one would want to come back sooner than the scheduled launch, return mission. So if I were to have a takeaway and I were NASA or any other space agency, given how many rockets are available to us, you put one on reserve just for this occasion.
Right, and if we speak specifically about Sunita Williams, what would you say about her spirit, which she showed during these 9 months in space? She was always seen as someone who was upbeat, never losing hope. So any comments particularly on Sunita Williams?
Yeah, well, forgive me for not even thinking she had Indian heritage. I just thought of her as American, okay? Because America has huge diversity in who is American. So, and in fact, she calls herself, and all her closest friends call her Sunny, because S-U-N-I, you abbreviate Sunita. I would have abbreviated Sunni, but everyone says Sunny. And maybe that's because she always has a sunny disposition. Consider that both she and Butch Wilmore, the two who were branded as stranded astronauts, I thought about that and I said, well, wait a minute. There's a half dozen other people on the space station. There's food, there's water, even though the water is recycled urine, but that's normal up there. That's okay. And the only thing, maybe they didn't bring enough pairs of underwear or something, all right? But other than that, given that they're professional astronauts, and NASA says, sorry, you have to spend extra time in space, when for so many people, that's their goal, to get to space at all. At no time did I have sympathy for them, and I don't think they needed the sympathy, personally. So, but yes, and any images you saw of them floating around, and it's fun when Sunita, she let her hair go, and of course hair, if it's 0G, the hair just floats. And so I had her on my podcast, and it was fun. She swung her hair around, and I said, Sunita, aren't you like absorbing all the dust in the air? So your hair is like a mop, an air mop. And as she swung her hair around. So that was a fun little exchange we had. Yeah, that no time did they look sad or depressed. And by the way, this should be true, I think, with all space agencies. I know it's true with NASA, that when they select their astronauts, they're selected not only for the physiology, that they're physically fit to handle such a mission, but that they're also emotionally fit. All right. And when you're emotionally fit, things like, okay, instead of 8 days, it's 9 months, you don't see them freaking out or reacting in some way that would jeopardize the safety of the crew. So that's why I was never worried.